On October 25th, 1991, Halloween Horror Nights, then called Fright Nights, debuted at Universal Studios Florida. The original event, hosted by the Universal Monsters and Beetlejuice, would evolve into the premier Halloween theme park event. Now, over 3 decades later, it will return bigger than ever with Halloween Horror Nights 30 Years of Fear.
Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, back for the 30th year of fear.
Anniversary years at Halloween Horror Nights have turned into somewhat of a tradition. Big celebration years that look back at what had come before while paving the way for what would be next. Halloween Horror Nights 16 brought the 4 previous icons back together, blending them with new versions of houses from the past. 20 introduced a new Overlord icon for the event who had been behind everything that had come before. 25 brought the original icon Jack back as the first icon to return in 4 years. And, as expected, Halloween Horror Nights 30 would follow the anniversary year tradition. Jack will be back to run the show, once again bringing a mixture of the past to the event with all new frights. On September 3rd, 2021, Halloween Horror Nights would open its gates for the first time in 2 years.
Halloween Horror Nights!
As a tradition on this channel, it's time to take a look at everything that is offered at Halloween Horror Nights 30. Let's start with the houses. While it is too early in the event to rank the houses, instead I will be talking about the stories for each house, what awaits inside, and some short thoughts on them. However, I will be mentioning my top 2 first impression favourite houses. We were lucky enough to be invited by Universal Orlando Resort to experience this opening night and given permission to film inside the houses, and I will be showing some highlights from within all 10 of them. The first of the 4 IP houses of this year's event, Netflix's The Haunting of Hill House, is one of the hotly anticipated houses of the year. Just like the TV series, the house jumps back and forward between the past and present, Following the Crane's family story, after entering, you immediately see one of the most beautiful facades ever created, the glowing house itself. This huge facade draws you in as you immediately see the Red Room door. Inside you will find a huge variety of effects and scares as the house gets progressively creepier as you are led through the Red Room and the Hall of Statues. It's full of ghosts and characters from the series.
Get away from the window!
What's wrong with her? It's okay. She's in a nightmare. She's going to wake.
The ghost host of the very first ever Halloween Horror Nights, Fright Nights, finally gets his own house at the event. Based on the Warner Brothers and Tim Burton film, this popular movie is recreated in house form. The entrance facade features Beetlejuice himself interacting with those in line before heading through the rotating tunnel into the afterlife. The start of this house feels slightly empty and has areas where not much is happening. You see the Neverworld waiting room, the haunted attic within the home, and get a great look at the model of Winter River before entering the model itself through the Dietz house for the wedding scene. Definitely one of the least scary houses at the event, but it is a lot of fun spotting the scenes from the movie if you are a fan.
It's showtime!
What's beautiful about this? You kids picked me! You didn't have to, but you did.
Don't even say his name. You do not want his help.
Myself am strange and unusual.
Get down to business. I got a card here somewhere. Who do I have to get? You losers! You're working with a professional here. Hey, I'm feeling a little, anxious, if you know what I mean. Have some laughs. Here it is. I'm telling you, honey, she meant nothing to me. Nothing at all.
Inspired by the 1974 movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was one of the featured houses in a tent at Halloween Horror Nights 26. That house recreated the movie and took you through it scene by scene. This year, inside Soundstage 23, the movie returns, but in a different way. Now the scares will be playing out around you as you entered into other areas not seen in the movie itself for your very own story. The house begins with the Sawyer gas station, then takes you into the Sawyer family home, Leatherface and Chop Top's rooms, and ends in an intense finale with Leatherface attacking from all sides. With some incredible looking sets, intense scares, and lots of body parts in this house, it is a great fit for Halloween Horror Nights. A nice little Easter egg is that the gas pumps used within were originally in the Jaws ride. After Dr. Frankenstein was forced by Dr. Pretorius to create a mate for the monster in the 1935 film The Bride of Frankenstein, which ended in the destruction of the laboratory by the monster, Halloween Horror Nights will create a house that acts as a direct sequel to that classic. Universal Monsters' The Bride of Frankenstein lives. The bride would survive, and would attempt to bring back the monster. After entering the burning ruins of the castle, up above, the bride mourns for her lost love. After studying lab notes and books, she would gather body parts from local villagers and capture Dracula's brides to try and use their immortal blood to bring him back to life. The monster would live again. The bride didn't only capture Dracula's brides, look out for a cameo from Gilman as well. It's a beautiful house with an incredible original story.
To me.
You got to disturb the master!
Cary, Ohio, one of the most iconic locations used as a setting for the strange and unusual since 2008, is a town full of murder, mystery, and the supernatural. A place bad things happen and nobody escapes from. Cary has become a tradition for the event and can be seen throughout not just this house, but in multiple locations at Halloween Horror Nights 30. This year, the event would bring some of the best locations from the past back into one house. Entering the town by the sewers, you find yourself attacked by the creature from the 2009 house The Spawn Inn, before encountering the vampires of the Hive, the supernatural ghosts of the Wyandotte Estate and Dead End, followed by a trip through the orphanage that does not go well, especially with the visit from the caretaker's daughter Cindy. Next, you would meet HR Blood and Guts himself. Look out for Slaughter Cinema, Leave It to the Cleaver, Hellgate Prison, and Havoc Dogs of War to end the house. Welcome to Scary Horror in the Heartland.
M.H.R. Blood and Guts.
Revenge of the Tooth Fairy is a house based around bedtime stories and has been rumoured for quite some time, and at Halloween Horror Nights 30, the tale of the Tooth Fairy would be told. This isn't the story you know, however. Something darker would lay behind the tale. If children did not give up their baby teeth to the Tooth Fairies, they would pay a gruesome price. Tonight, one such child would question the deal. The younger child of the Westhorn family refused to place his tooth under the pillow. A swarm of imps would leave a trail of toothless, tortured corpses in their wake to teach humanity to honour the deal. The house itself takes you into the pages of the story, telling the tale that every child owes a debt. Puppet Theatre Captive Audience takes place in the Grandeur Theatre in San Francisco, which collapsed due to an earthquake in 1917, trapping the Pasquette's puppet troupe inside, along with the final show held in the theatre and its viewers, the Gorian Ballet Group. Trapped within, they slowly went mad. However, the show must go on. They would take the remaining audience members, their captive audience who were trapped inside, and mutilate them by turning them into puppets for their own gory finale. 1 year later, guests would enter the collapsed theatre. The house has some of the largest sets created in a sprung tent and is visually very impressive. Look out for some team member costumes hanging in the dressing room, including one from Dueling Dragons. Watch out as you enter, however, as they are ready to get a new captive audience.
I'm still rehearsing!
Besides, the show must go on.
For the first time in the event's history, all of the previous icons will be featured in one house. Halloween Horror Nights icons, captured. Entering Fear's Lantern, the facade shows each of the icons as a totem, similar but larger than the icon totems Fear carried at Halloween Horror Nights 20. You will immediately encounter the Caretaker, Chance and Jack, before seeing Fear himself looming over guests. Victims throughout are dressed in the t-shirts related to each icon's event. You encounter Lady Luck and her wheel, the director, the usher, the storyteller, and you can see her bed of nails for the first time that was featured in her year's commercial. You may even spot some of the victims of Bloody Mary and her mirror. The Final Throne, a replica of the one seen in Hades' The Gate of Ruins in 2010, features a different icon reigning victorious depending on your walkthrough. Which icon won on your visit? Let me know. The house is a huge nostalgia trip for fans of Halloween Horror Nights and the icons.
This person has no bar. Ladies and gentlemen, step into Jack's Maniacs! It's time to die!
What I feel will be the sleeper hit house of the year for me, and one of my opening weekend favourites. The name Boris Schuster is sat on a window of an office in the New York section of the park at Universal Studios Florida for years. In 2008, the name on the window will be used as part of the legendary true story with Bloody Mary. In 2021, we would get to step into the Private Eye's shoes, in Case Files Unearthed, Legendary Truth. On October 25th, 1991, at 6 PM, coincidentally the first night of the very first Halloween Horror Nights, Tim Foyle, a new character, finds the files of the legendary private investigator, who had hidden them in plain sight as a series of novels, each of which was connected to a series of totems. Trying to uncover the clues, throughout the house you head through each of the cases of Boris's novels, heading back in time to New York on October 25th, 1948. As you walk through, you will experience the different cases from the books. Once all totems were brought together, they would open a direct portal to hell. Towards the end of the house, you head back to October 31st, 1991 at 11:59, the final moment of the very first Halloween Horror Nights, where the totems have been brought together and you will find that hell has come to you. Things do not end too well for poor Tim Foyle, who can be seen again in the finale. The house directly references the legions of horror that were featured during Halloween Horror Nights 22, which Boris unearthed. You enter an abandoned warehouse full of mannequins, the Museum of Natural History, and even see recreations of the nearby Kitty Cat Club, a facade that has existed on the park's Delancey Street since opening, directly across from Boris's office. The design team actually referenced the original plans for the street in the park to recreate inside the house. If you look out of his window when you see his office, you will also see the same street. The house is full of fun details from the past, letting you experience the cases that led to the forming of the legendary truth.
More shoes to praise.
So I had to show them the business end of the barrel. It all started with the damn totems. So that night, this city is lousy with temptation. You're the devil.
We do best. Just a cookie. Delicious.
And finally, my favourite house so far. Experience the more sinister roots of the traditions of Halloween and enter the realm of the pumpkin, coming face to face with the Pumpkin Lord himself in the Wicked Growth realm of the pumpkin. Lured in by the sights and smells of Halloween, you find yourself in a dilapidated haunted house, an ominous graveyard, look out for a reference for Albert Cain here, and a wicked witch's cottage. The Pumpkin Lord's minions are collecting unwilling sacrifices in order to summon the Pumpkin Lord. The sets once again are incredible for a Sprung 10, with the bridge scene being one of my favourites from the whole event this year. Look out for the vines and vegetation growing larger as you get closer to the Pumpkin Lord. Before I talk about the scare zones and the shows of this year, I want to mention the Halloween Horror Nights section of the Universal app.
Well. Look who we have here.
One frequent comment by fans of the event was that they missed the old interactive websites where you could explore, interact, and learn more about the event. This year, X Studios, who worked on those websites of old, have really offered that in an app form. Head to the Universal app, look under the Houses and More section, and click the Halloween Horror Nights mobile game. During the event, you can use your camera icon to scan QR codes around to get achievements. The Return of Terror trivia lets you compete against other fans to get the top points in multiple choice questions, perfect for killing time in the line. The production diaries give you a peek behind the scenes with information from the event's designers. For interactive fun in the park, try Jack's Scattered Past. Jack himself has ripped the fabric between nightmares and reality in an all-new exploration game. Taking one of 3 paths, the case files of Boris Schuster, Iconic Past, or Legions of Horror, figure out the clues given and find the 5 locations within the park and scan the QR code.
Which path shall we choose? Another that revisits those legendary Legions of Horror.
The path you are given will change. For example, one place you need to find is the hardware store where Eddie fills his chainsaw up. I will show you where this one is, but the rest are up to you. Scan wisely, or you may be punished.
Do you have the guts to stitch them all back together? Welcome to Jack's Scattered Past!
Scarezones this year are an interesting bunch. With 5 to choose from, there is something for everyone. I will say that I had no knowledge of Crypt TV before the Scarezone was announced, and still have not seen any of it yet. This Scarezone is more of a photo op zone. The characters look great, but is a little slow for my tastes. If you enjoy Crypt TV, I'm sure it's great to see all these different characters. As someone who doesn't know anything about it, this one really isn't for me. The actors do a great job and the designs look cool, but I often found it too quiet within. I was extremely excited for the 30 Years 30 Fears Zone, seeing all the sets going up with the icon posters and the classic neon sign returning. The monsters you most dread from the past would return to take over the streets, home to some of the most infamous characters from past Halloween Horror Nights scare zones. The area is designed to be a large statement piece, and is supposed to represent a portal into the world of Halloween Horror Nights, rather than a full street of scares. With the lighting and fire along with the classic sign, the entrance portal sure is eye-catching. Now for perhaps the strangest of the scare zones, Seek and Destroy. A ruthless alien cyber regime led by the Controller has taken over New York, turning humans into fuel. You must either join them or be destroyed. First, the stage and sets in the zone are beautiful. The Controller, the first digital interactive character in the event's history, has a large face on screen that can talk to guests where he asks them to pledge their allegiance. The searchlights throughout the zone focusing on people and following them are a great touch. The only downside is that the Controller is quite hard to hear and understand. Many people close by are unsure if he is talking to them or not. Another aspect that isn't really for me is the choice of every actor in the zone looking the exact same all in white. Sadly, the area is just not scary, though it does a good job of showing off the storyline that the Controller demands conformity. The Terror Queen's hotly anticipated return, 16 years after sacrificing herself, can be found in Gorewood Forest. Central Park has once again turned into another beautiful scare zone. Rather than go into her world, this time she has come to ours, planning to remake it in her image. Bringing a legion of creatures to serve her, they will ravage our world to create her new kingdom, draining the blood of sacrificed man-slaves, including her trusty interpreter, Eelmouth. I guess James Keaton had enough to do this year. The Terror Queen's design is based off an original concept that never made it into the original zone in 2005. as it had to be changed so that she could ride a motorcycle. The zone looks great, it's just a shame that we don't see that motorcycle again, but it's great to see the Terror Queen finally return. And lastly, lights, camera, action, Eddie's revenge. Get ready as Eddie Schmidt, Jack's brother, is filming a horror film. You have come on the movie backlot preparing to make a feature film based on the creatures of Halloween Horror Nights. Unlucky for you, Eddie has shown up with real monsters who demand the attention they have always been denied. The zone is hectic, full of scares, chainsaws, and plenty of the past of Halloween Horror Nights Scare Zone bests. Treats and Foons, Fear's Minions, Vamp 55, Invasion, Haunted Fisherman from the Wharf. No matter where you go, there is some horror waiting to attack. The energy is high, the sets are detailed, and Eddie finally gets his time to shine in one of the best scare zones of the year. That brings us to the shows. Marathon of Mayhem Carnage Factory returns with an all-new show highlighting the event's icons and IPs. Jack has lured guests into a trance where you awaken in the heart of a factory. The Nightmare Machine will extract guests' deepest fears, one by one. It's great to see the icons shown some love on the lagoon again, taking me back to Halloween Horror Nights 16. Sadly, Beetlejuice is not included in the show. Halloween Nightmare Fuel takes over the show role in the Fear Factor Stadium, igniting guests with waking nightmares, nocturnal creatures, aerialists of the night, all coming alive to the sound of rock, metal, and electronica music. It is high energy, fun, and features some great fire effects and magic tricks. It really does feel like an old school Halloween Horror Night show from the past, and the performers do a great job of pumping up the crowd before sending them back out to the scares. I don't even have time really to talk about the amazingly themed tribute store. The fact that the team creating it put so much effort and detail into something created in such a short time just blows my mind. There are so many Easter eggs and things to find related to the past of Horror Nights in there, including a portrait of me and Jackie. As well as this, Halloween Horror Nights has really stepped up the food and drink offered during the event as well. We've only tried a couple of the offerings so far, but there are plenty returning classics and new offerings to choose from. After a year without the event, I have never been so happy to see Halloween Horror Nights return. Halloween Horror Nights 30 brings some of the best of the past into the present, all tied up nicely with that clown icon that paved the way for so much that followed. Every single house is top quality, though my one sane complaint from Halloween Horror Nights 29 still stands. The house ops are too aggressive at shouting at you to keep moving even when you are walking at normal pace. There were many concerns about the use of vinyl in the houses this year. While it is noticeable, it is more than a fair trade to increase the safety of the performers during the event and does not decrease the fun found within. So far, the Scarezones are somewhat of a mixed bag for me this year, and I look forward to seeing how they evolve over the event's run. As with everything Halloween Horror Nights, they will only get better from the opening. I do hope some characters are added to Springfield, which feels quite empty for the first time in years. Lastly, I just want to give a special thank you again to Universal for inviting us out to the opening night, and our RIP tour guides Katie and Duncan for sharing their passion for Halloween Horror Nights with us. Also, thank you to the amazing team who created the event, the scare actors and teams working the event, allowing everyone to safely enjoy the horror again. Halloween Horror Nights continues to be the premier Halloween event in the world, and Halloween Horror Nights 30 is an anniversary year looking back at the past that only makes me more excited for the event's future. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Haunts. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition. What is your favourite house this year? Let me know in the comments below. Our limited edition Halloween Horror Night shirts are back on sale. Use the code HHN30 during the event to get a 10% discount. A special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel as always, and we will see you next time.